Liberal groups are outraged that Joe Biden is now denying crack pipes to addicts in their safer smoking kits. Before you lies a series of stories, a collection that I have presented to show you the way the media narrative works. They like to test the waters. Let's do something. If it's unpopular, we'll claim we weren't doing it. We'll get the media to lie, to say it's true, we were never doing it. But I can prove to you they were. To put it simply, the Biden administration was promising a distribution of $30 million, some of which would go to the distribution of safer smoking kits, which include often, typically, crack pipes and meth pipes. Conservatives were shocked by this, saying, I don't think giving out crack pipes is going to help anybody. But certain liberal groups think it will. And there's good reason to believe it will help people to a certain degree. But in my opinion, this is my opinion as a non-drug expert, stands to reason that if you increase the amount of crack pipes in an area, you increase the ease of access to smoking crack, which is not what we want to happen. The same is true for meth. We want to reduce that. So perhaps the money should be better served by taking people into rehab, cleaning them up. We should be decriminalizing. We should be releasing people. People should not be in prison because they're addicted to a substance. They should get help. Well, this distribution program was widely unpopular, and it started spreading far and wide. Many news outlets were desperate to debunk it, but the reality is safer smoking kits do include crack pipes, and I have proof, and I'll show you the proof. So then all of a sudden we get Snopes. The famed fact checker says, is Joe Biden giving up crack pipes to promote racial equity? Mostly false. While they are going to be distributing safer smoking kits and other supplies, and it is a priority to get it to racial minorities, they're also giving out syringes. I kid you not, that was their actual fact check. It's mostly false because he's also giving them syringes. That's insane to me. The crazy thing is that they even try. They even try instead of just admitting what they're doing. Well, it's an election year, so they have to lie. The Daily Mail reports liberal drug group now criticizes Biden administration for not giving out free crack pipes and safe smoking and harm reduction kits that include lip balm, alcohol swabs, fentanyl testing strips, and clean syringes, and have infuriated Republicans. This is the narrative they played. Take a look at this. Snopes. Did Biden admin fund crack pipes to advance racial equity? Outdated, they now say, with an editor's note. The article has been updated after the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services stipulated that federal funding would not be used to include pipes in the safe smoking kits to be distributed as part of a substance abuse harm reduction program. As a result of that newly stipulated detail, Snopes has changed its rating from mostly false to outdated. The reality is the story was true. There was outrage. So the Biden administration says, okay, we're not giving crack pipes. The reality is they actually lied about it. They were like, we were never giving crack pipes. They literally were going to give crack pipes. And again, I have evidence. But I'll tell you this. If at the bare minimum, the Biden administration is like, no, we're not giving crack pipes, and they stopped, okay, then I'd say congratulations. The outrage worked, right? Reporting on this, it was widely seen as unpopular and a bad idea. They decided not to do it. But the problem I have is how the media now claims they were never going to do it. You see, the Biden administration is correct. It's all just right-wing lies and hit jobs. Here's Forbes. No, the Biden administration is not giving away crack pipes. Really? Well, we have this from USA Today. What's inside a safe smoking kit? Behind Biden's $30 million substance abuse grant. And they're going to say that Jen Psaki mentioned that it was a kit with swabs and stuff like I mentioned, right? May contain alcohol swabs, lip balm, and other materials to promote hygiene and reduce the transmission of diseases like HIV and hepatitis. Well, that sounds pretty good. And I got to be honest, all of it does sound pretty good. The problem is, I think they realized the problem with giving out crack pipes and then lied about it. And now the media is backing up their lies. Just tell the truth, you despicable cretins. I think it's funny now. Here's the main story. The liberal group outraged. They say, while Republicans expressed dismay about a reported plan to include crack pipes in government-funded safe smoking kits, a liberal drug policy group criticized Health and Human Services for leaving out crack pipes. The Drug Policy Alliance said the decision to remove pipes from safe smoking equipment is deeply disappointing. Notice how they say, remove them from. Because the reality is, Snopes is lying to you, Forbes is lying to you, Any news outlet that says they don't contain crack pipes is lying to you, and my friends, we'll start here. This is a Canadian website, so I know, take it with a grain of salt, but I said we'll just start here, right? It's Interior Health, every person matters. Harm reduction supplies, safer smoking supplies. Well, as you can see, there's Vaseline, there's foils, there are alcohol swabs. It's not too dissimilar to what Jen Psaki was talking about, right? You've got wooden push sticks, you've got plastic mouthpieces to prevent burning and transmission of disease, and you have a glass stem crack pipe and a meth pipe. I think it's really funny the meth pipe is like a specialty item. This is what a safe smoking kit typically looks like. I've chosen this one in Canada because it's neutral. It's neutral, right? U.S. politics crazy. And of course, there's going to be people putting out safe kits and, smoking kits and be like, see, there's no crack pipe here. Well, up in Canada, this is typically what is viewed, or I should say, this is at least one of the things that's viewed. Now, I'll bring it back to America. We have here from HRI Global, briefing paper, Harm Reduction International, COACT, expertise in drug use. Safe harm reduction funding typically involves needle and syringe programs, drug consumption rooms. This is like a place where you can go and do drugs safely, and safer smoking kits. The distribution of safer smoking kits, which can include glass stems, which is a crack pipe, rubber mouthpieces, brass screens, lip balm, and disinfectant wipes, aims to engage people who smoke drugs with harm reduction and health services to reduce health complications caused by unsafe equipment. By using safer equipment, people who smoke drugs can avoid the emergence of lesions, burns, and cuts to the lips and mouth that are associated with the risk of infection, Hep C transmission. It can also reduce the risk of lung issues associated with improvised smoking equipment. I get the idea. It sounds fantastic. You're like, hey, I got an idea. Look, and I gotta, can I just point out, in their safer smoking kits, they actually have an image of what looks like a crack pipe, or I think that's a meth pipe, actually. This is HRI Global, right? Another example of what harm reduction really means. Giving people crack pipes. Now, I get it, right? Pipe distribution programs can also encourage safer drug-taking practices, pin-to-pipe programs, blah, blah, blah. So how is it that it just so happens the Biden administration is slammed for providing crack pipes? Then they claim, no, there's none. The media says, yeah, there's no crack pipes. But all of the resources you pull up on this specifically are like, you need crack pipes. You need them. Just be honest, yo. Look, people do drugs. It sucks. I think it's a bad thing. I think people should be allowed to do whatever they want with their own bodies. I don't think they should go to jail. I think they should get help. And if they're doing it in public, that's something different. If they're, giving it to kids, that's a crime. So how about you see someone on the street doing drugs, you take them to a facility for help, we get them cleaned up, we actually try and help. I think the prison system in this country is absolute garbage. I'm against private prisons. I think government-run prisons are also pretty bad. I just overall think we need hardcore prison reform. And maybe the answer is we do need privatized prison systems under extreme regulation, transparency, and oversight. Because I'm not a big fan. I think the main problem is, I think a combination of private services with government regulation can be a better approach. I don't think the free market will solve for this problem. I really, really don't, because prisons require an institution of government, and when you combine them in the worst ways, you get the worst possible thing, fascism. Or I should say one of the worst possible things. There's other really, really bad things. Ultimately, the issue is they incentivize writing laws to make more people go to prison because private prison lobbies for this stuff. So we need prison reform. So if you want to help people who are doing drugs, I don't think giving black people crack pipes is going to help anybody, let alone the black community. And that's actually what their plan was. They wanted to prioritize giving crack and meth pipes to underprivileged or underserved marginalized groups, which of course means racial minorities. And it doesn't mean Asian people. So Latino and black people would be given crack pipes, white and Asians wouldn't be? How is that making anything better for these minorities? You're just encouraging and increasing the likelihood they'll do hard drugs. You'd think if they actually wanted equity, they'd be giving the white people the drugs, right? Based on their ideology. Here we go. The Drug Policy Alliance says, the Biden administration, harm reduction works to meet people where they are at and keep people free of diseases and alive so they have a chance of recovery. The Biden administration may not be handing out free crack pipes, but a $30 million harm reduction grant program will dole out materials for addicts to utilize when using to mitigate the spread of disease. How hard is it for the Daily Mail, for Forbes, for Snopes to look up what a safer smoking kit is? And then you would see the core component of a safe smoking kit is a crack pipe, is a pipe, meth pipe or crack pipe, whatever. It seems like what happened is conservatives did real journalism, saw that this is what they were giving out, said this is a stupid idea, and then Biden administration realized it was a stupid idea. Their polls are in the gutter, and regular Americans are going to be like, why are you giving out crack pipes? You know what, man? It's just remarkable how screwed up everything is in our system, that we've got hardcore restrictions, we've got businesses being shut down, and the government actively giving out crack pipes at a time when hardcore drug use is rampant. When you look at the homelessness and the crime across this country, who in their right mind would think this was a good idea? And it's so evident that even the Biden administration realized this. So they've pulled the crack pipes. Why? If they really believed in it, stood by it, and thought people would like it, they'd say, no, listen, you need to understand why we're doing this. And I'll tell you this. If I was going to implement a policy, if I had a policy position like this, own it and say, listen, you need to understand the world is more nuanced than just to say, don't do a certain thing. There is a reason why we want to give out crack pipes, because the people who smoke crack are getting diseases and infecting other people, exacerbating the problem. They could say that. Certainly, I'd argue against it and be like, I get it, but maybe the answer is when you see people doing drugs, you bring them, you decriminalize, so there's less fear around it. You give them safe space for detoxing and, preventing or helping people through withdrawal. And then we work on programs to stop drug use. This encourages it. You don't need me to say it for 50 million times, right? Jamie Favaro, executive director of Next Distro, one of the groups that applied for the grants, told the Washington Post that such kits typically do not include glass pipes because it is far more expensive than just offering a mouthpiece, which can be affixed to any pipe to prevent spreading infection. I think it's funny. I've shown you two different PDFs from two different organizations. One is general purpose. They include pipes and mouthpieces because you don't want dirty pipes. In pushing for the pipes to be included, the Drug Policy Alliance said the U.S. government has prioritized a criminalization approach for 50 plus years and it's failing. I agree. Overdose rates are at record highs. I agree. Also funded under the grant are harm reduction vending machines, including stock for the machines, medication to reverse a drug overdose, medication for medication lockboxes, infectious disease testing kits, safe sex kits, medication, needle disposal, vaccination services, wound care supplies. The grant program lasts 3 years and includes 25 awards up to $400,000. It is against the law to sell or distribute drug paraphernalia, including such pipes, unless authorized by state, local, or federal law. Now, look. Perhaps I'm wrong on this one. I'm totally willing to entertain that. I did research on what these kits included, and sure enough found multiple instances in which they specifically include pipes. I found stories about organizations saying you need to include pipes. I think the media and the government are lying about this. There you go. That's what a crack pipe looks like. And the reason you'd need to give someone a crack pipe is obvious. The pipes become damaged, dangerous, can cause problems, so they want to give people clean crack pipes. That's the point, right? HHS on Wednesday put out a statement contradicting its previously reported remarks. No federal funding will be used directly or through subsequent reimbursement of grantees to put pipes in safe smoking kits. The goal of harm reduction is to save lives. Psaki said the pipes were never expected to be included in the kits. They were never part of the kit. It was inaccurate reporting. No, if you're going to change the basics of what a safer smoking kit is, you need to say, these are specialty kits that don't include pipes. But if most kits do include them, you need to, then people are going to assume they do. Republicans weren't buying it. Once again, misinformation just means true facts that make Democrats look bad, said Tom Cotton. Cotton tweeted, HHS says that Biden's crack pipe distribution plan is blatant misinformation, but they don't deny the report. Once again, misinformation just means true facts that makes Democrats look bad. The good news, Biden's HHS is no longer funding crack pipes. But make no mistake, yesterday's change in policy is because HHS got caught. Ted Cruz says, reminder, it was Biden admin policy to fund crack pipe distribution until they were busted. Senator Marco Rubio on Thursday announced the Crack Act along with 16 Republican co-sponsors, even after the Biden admin's denial that it would fund the pipes. Quote, I am glad the Biden administration acknowledges sending crack pipes to our nation's addicts is a bad idea, Rubio said in a statement. It is pure insanity to think the federal government would fund crack pipe distribution. This legislation will make certain the program can never pay for crack pipes And given the Biden administration's position, I look forward to their vigorous support. Rubio's bill would amend the American Rescue Plan to prohibit the use of federal funds to supply or distribute pipes, cylindrical objects, or other paraphernalia that can be used to smoke, inhale, or ingest narcotics. Rubio was silent on the needle exchange programs. In 2019, Ron DeSantis signed legislation that supported Florida counties to launch their own needle exchanges. I am also critical of those. I get it. People will use dirty needles. The problem is criminalization. I think people should be allowed to imbibe what they choose. But I think we shouldn't be encouraging, exacerbating, or funding this exchange. Here's how I see it. Even for Ron DeSantis, you've got people who are shooting up drugs. They share needles. They get HIV and other diseases and infections. It's horrifying. So the solution they come up with is, I know, let's give them clean syringes. And it's like, well, yeah, but giving clean syringes still doesn't change the fact that they might still share them. You're just giving them more syringes. If you want to stop people from sharing syringes, stop them from doing drugs. How do you do that? Instead of just arresting them and putting them in jail, decriminalize it so people aren't hiding for the most part. Clean drug rooms, I think, may actually be a good idea. If someone's addicted to a drug, you can get them, you can put them in a controlled environment and reduce the amount they actually do drugs until they don't. So people get addicted to opiates. In order to chase that high, they have to do more and more until they eventually overdose and die. If you get people into safer facilities, this is what they were, I believe was partly what they were doing in Portugal. You can say, we actually only go down. You can't go up. And so eventually some people might be like, I can't go there because they're not going to give me enough. However, some people who are desperate and have no choice will say, I will go to where I can get my fix. And once they're there, they can be given proper help. They can be given safer supplies, clean supplies. And that's what we have methadone clinics for. Because these ideas have been tried. And I know people in my life who had been addicted to heroin and other opiates who have gotten off of them this way. I think you need to realize it's not going to be easy. And just giving out syringes seems like just shuffling it under the rug. Clean disposal, but that could be for a variety of things. I mean, people who want to do insulin or who want to do, but people who have to take insulin, they'll need clean disposal. I'm not going to pretend to have all the answers. I can certainly understand the argument about syringes and crack pipes. I certainly, however, think that just putting these things out there is likely to increase usage. I'll give you another example. You could say to me right now, you know what, Tim, I think you're wrong. People are going to seek out the drugs, and unless we get them clean needles, they'll be using dirty needles. Yeah? And who's to say that putting clean needles out there won't result in people sharing those formerly clean needles? If there are 50 needles in existence, and there's 100 people that want the drug, okay, they may all share that needle. If you put 100 needles in existence, there's no guarantee that you now have 100 people who are going to use one needle. You may end up with 30 new needles unused and 70 that are shared about. Or you might actually have an unintended consequence. Now, 150 people are doing drugs, and they're all still sharing needles. If there's a finite supply of needles, there could be someone who says, I can't do it, man. I can't share a needle with you. And they say, just burn it. It's fine. And there may be someone being like, nah, I'm going to go to a clinic. I don't want to get a disease. Like, just because someone's addicted doesn't mean they're always going to side with just risking a disease or infection. You may actually be increasing the probability they overdose and die by giving them access to clean street drugs. I don't mean the drugs themselves. I mean, someone goes out and wants to score a hit, and they're like, all I've got is a dirty needle. The person might be like, nah, I'll wait till I can find something that's safer. You give them all clean needles, but don't worry, we got a bunch of clean ones. Government gave it to us. And they'll be like, all right, let's do it. Odie. You see my point? I could be wrong. I could be. But I think when you see them pulling back on this, you recognize that even the government knew something wasn't right about this. And now they're acting like they were never going to be giving it out. Maybe it's polling. Maybe it is the right thing to do. Maybe we're wrong. And maybe people just ultimately think it's a bad idea. But I'll trust the wisdom of the crowds on this one. If the Biden administration is willing to recoil and pull back because they know it's unpopular, I think it's fair to say most people are just asking, how is this going to reduce drug use? It's going to exacerbate the problem by giving people more access. Some people don't want to share. Let's think about it this way. There's probably a guy out there with a crack pipe. And he's like, I'm not sharing my crack pipe with you. Get your own. And the guy's like, oh, well, then I guess I can't smoke crack. What's that? Free crack pipes? Now more people have them. I mean, it's just simple math. It really is. The world is complicated. I often talk about the Chinese finger trap problem. Sometimes you have to do something that's counterintuitive to solve the problem. So I understand what they think they're doing. I just think they're doing it wrong. And I think the fact the media lied about it shows the real problem here. The media outright saying they were never doing this. You're wrong. You're liars. They're just covering for these pieces of trash. It's despicable. And it's what we've all been dealing with for how long now? Basically forever, but at least we can see it. The media lies. We know they lie. And therein lies the real problem. You got an honest position on these drugs? Just come out and tell me. Just come out and tell me, and I'll weigh the options. And then I'll vote accordingly. But you see, they want to trick you into voting for them. They want to trick you into supporting their ideas even when they're bad and they know they're bad. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. over at youtube.com/Timcast. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.